Why wait to earn the degree you deserve? You have the experience, you have the knowledge. Now's the time to get the credit for the work you've done and earn the recognition you deserve by starting your comeback at Purdue Global. It's time to earn a degree you'll be proud of, a degree that employers will respect. It's never too late. Never too late to come back stronger and move forward in your career. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. Purdue's online university for working adults.
This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. It's a special thing to be a member of Navy Federal because they are a member-owned, not-for-profit credit union that invests in its members with amazing rates and low fees. That's why members could earn and save more every year. Plus, they serve all branches of the armed forces, veterans, and their families. So if you're interested in becoming a member, learn more at NavyFederal.org. At Navy Federal Credit Union, our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Episode 163, Tips for Cash-Strapped New Grads.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And that title was a tongue twister.
Yeah, you did
me.
It. Good job.
But nothing is as tongue twisting as commencement speeches.
Have you done one?
I did. Yeah, I have. Well, I don't know if you would consider it a commencement speech. Like, it was at my graduation. I gave a speech.
Oh, yeah. I did too.
Cool.
Aw.
Wow.
Look at it. We do have things in common.
Anyways, it's not about us today. Today, it's all about financial tips and career tips for new graduates. So even if you are not a new graduate, then send this along to your favorite new grad. If you are a new grad getting this, know that you're somebody's favorite. Just keep that in your heart.
Yes. This topic thrills me because I think I have a particular affinity to this age group. People in college, getting out of college. I've had the privilege of counseling quite a few young adults, and I just really like this age group. So really looking forward to hopefully helping some people out with this one.
Awesome. And I mean, even if you are not a new grad, you may still be able to get some of the foundational personal finance and career principles in here. And they're tips that anybody can benefit from. But first, our sponsors.
Sinking funds. Not as scary as sinking sand. Often talked about, not often kept, sinking funds are essential to being able to pay for big expenses, like vacations, cars, water heaters. Your sinking fund wants you to know that keeping it in a high yield savings account separate from your regular checking and savings lessens the likelihood of you spending it. Any high-yield savings account without fees or minimum balance requirements will do. Currently, we really like Axos Bank because they are no maintenance fees. There are no maintenance fees, account minimums, and it has an impressive 0.61% APY. And when you sign up for the account through frugalfriendspodcast.com/Axos, you support us. Jen and Jill, your friends, the show, and no extra cost to you. Again, that's frugalfriendspodcast.com/AXOS.
Yes. This episode is also brought to you by pizza, the free meal at every campus activity, the late night snack, the late morning breakfast. There are so many good things to say about pizza. It doesn't actually need any advertising. I am literally eating it as I type this, which I'm saying it right now, but I was eating it when I typed this. Pizza. You thought it got you through college. Just wait for adulthood.
I was going to say, did you have pizza for lunch?
I did have pizza for lunch.
One can guess
where
the inspiration for these fake sponsors comes from.
Absolutely. So if you are into this topic and you want a little bit more, here are a few episodes to queue up to play after this. So episode 112 is how to graduate college without debt. So this may be if you are still in college, or if you are out of college and you do have debt. Episode 138, why paying off debt is important and attainable. So something for everyone.
Wherever you fall on the spectrum.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into our Google results. So the first one is from pnc.com, and it is financial tips for recent college graduates. And there are 7 financial tips, and they're all, pretty good. Pretty standard.
Mm-hmm. I like what is on here, and I just want to start this off by saying I think post-graduation can be incredibly daunting. It's such a massive transition to go from being in school, especially if you were full-time and you did the traditional staying on campus, all of that, into real life. And I think this is a lot of times where that statement of adulting comes into place. And for so many people that I have talked to, it's really overwhelming. It kind of seems as though I'm leaving behind something really fun and I'm going into my next stage of life, which isn't that fun. And I just want to encourage, if this is you, that I personally, Jen, I don't know what you would say, but I have really liked adulthood, as annoying as it can be, and all the fights that seem to need to happen, and the negotiation when like, no, please do this for me, or I got to fill out another form. Yeah, all those things are true, but adulthood has not been as scary or daunting as I think society can make it out to be. So the best is yet to come, and hopefully these things can help set you up, but please don't get overwhelmed by this list either. Like, take the meat, spit out the bones, do what works for you. I think ultimately just having your sights set on something rather than just like burying your head in the sand and like doing whatever next is helpful.
Yeah. And I think every season has its really high highs and its really low lows. Like, I was much more emotional in my early 20s. I don't know if I was more emotional. Things impacted me more because I had less perspective on like the true meaning of life. So I felt like some of my lows were so low. Whereas if the same thing happens now, it's just like, whatever, that's a Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Yeah. So like there are some things that you will never get back, like from your 20s, that should for sure be embraced, but it's definitely not like quote unquote the best time of your life. Like, any time you're alive is the best time of your life. And so know that.
Yeah, it can be with whatever you embrace. I personally have really liked getting older.
Yeah, same. I'm a much better person now in my 30s than I was in my early 20s. So I really enjoy that about myself.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well, that ties into how do we get there?
Yes.
So to get into this article from PNC, they talk about 7 things that like tips, financial tips. And the first one, I like it, I do think it's important, is to set goals. So thinking about both short-term and long-term goals as you're in this transition. I really like the way that this article kind of distilled it down as a way to identify goals, because there's certainly competing voices all around us, from professors to parents to friends to society, you name it. I really like how they challenge us to think about this and what is important to you, and or what will motivate you to build good financial habits, right? Like, if you're just saying, I think I'm going to want a house in 10 years, but you don't really feel connected to it, it's not going to help you actually attain some of those financial goals or create a savings plan. But to think about, what do you actually want to be doing in the short term and in the long term? What's going to motivate you to get there? Those are some helpful factors that can help you to identify, what do I want to get at and how can I get there? And they use some simple examples, like as simple as, do you need to be buying new clothes for interviews or jobs, all the way up to, do you want to be buying a house or a car in the next couple of years? Do you need to switch apartments? What's on the horizon? And what are those goals?
Yeah, I like that they differentiate short and long-term goals, because the long-term planning is important, but that can change. And you should be open and expect that to change. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a long-term goal, because if you don't have one, you go nowhere. So at least have one and expect it to change. But it's the short-term goals that really get you making headway, because our brains automatically gravitate towards instant gratification. And the closer that we can get to gratification, even if it's not instant, the more likely we are to succeed. So definitely short-term goals are super important.
I've been seeing a lot of these goal charts, particularly in our Frugal Friends community group on Facebook, where people are coloring in as they get closer and closer to goals. I think that's a really great idea to have some sort of visual alongside it that can help keep the momentum.
Absolutely. The next one is to create a budget. And so you've probably already been anticipating this one if you haven't already. But I want to emphasize the point that creating a budget is not a solution. Often we will hear what's the most important part of your success or most important part of personal finance, and people just spout out having a budget like the budget is the solution. The budget really gives you, it's a tool. It gives you the map. It shows you where you're at so that you can do the deeper work of fixing either what you're spending or what you're earning. That's the work that we want to do. And that's going to come through in the rest of these recommendations. But you don't want to focus on everything at one time, because there's so many things that you can focus on to improve your finances. The budget tells you where you should be looking first, what you should be prioritizing, whether that is your spending, your earning, your saving, whatever. So budget is definitely next, but it's not the solution to your problem.
Yes. Love everything you just said. Number 3 on here is to start saving. This is an excellent idea, obviously, if you have income. So if you don't have income yet, then that definitely needs to happen.
Get that.
And we'll get into a little bit more about what we can be considering regarding career path in the next article. But if you have a job solidified, this is something you want to be thinking about. Not just, ooh, look, extra money that I don't have to spend on books and coursework. Extra money that I can be putting towards my future.
Yes.
And a good rule of thumb on that is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And you will know what 3 to 6 months of living expenses are once you've done number 2, which was budget.
Create a budget.
Knowing how much your bills are, how much is going out, and how much is coming in is a really simple way of looking at a budget. So once you know how much a typical month costs you, you're going to want to save up about 3 to 6 months worth of that money. That's a great starting point.
Yeah. And if you're single, it's like just you maybe have roommates or you have parents you can kind of fall back on. It can be less, like it can be closer to 3 months or even $1,000. So you can, your expenses probably won't be that high. So 3 months could be very close to $1,000. Yeah, who knows? Ooh. But yeah, it'll be less. And then every year as your life changes, as it will exponentially in the next 10 years, then you reevaluate. But definitely work on the saving first, getting that emergency fund saved in a high yield savings account separate from your regular checking and short-term savings. We want to keep it out of sight, out of mind, because your brain is weak. Don't rely on it. Just keep it out of there. Keep it out of your mind. So the next one is to pinch pennies. And this is probably not my favorite title for this section, but you get it. It's to start spending wisely. And it says you may be tempted to celebrate your independence by buying whatever you want. Think instead about building healthy financial habits for life. And so like I was saying before, this time in your life really is a season to be celebrated and lived. I don't think that you need to jump into adulthood saving 70% of your income so you can retire in your 30s. Because you miss out on all the experiences during this season. So I really believe that this season should be lived. But this is the time where you can start actually exploring, what do I really value? Separated from my friends at school, going into a workplace where I don't know a lot of people, where I'm finally like on my own. Figure out what you value apart from other people's influence. And that way you can develop a values-based spending system that allows you to spend on the things that you actually value and love, and say no to 100% of the things that you do not value and love. And I think that is a much more effective strategy than pinching pennies, is developing those habits of wise and conscious spending.
It's such an incredible aim of, what do I value? What do I want to be pointed towards, rather than what are other people telling me to be, or getting caught up in, this is what everyone else is spending their money on, and now I just feel obligated. But I really like that concept that you're describing, Jen, of pulling apart and stepping more and more into yourself and determining who you are more and more, what is important to you. That will help to be able to cut spending where you don't actually even want to be spending. But also the permission to, where you can afford it, to be able to do some of the fun things that you want to do in your 20s. We are definitely not going to say, starve yourself so that you can enjoy life when you're 65.
Yeah, no. But when the decisions you make now do affect yourself in the future. So definitely be conscious, but this season is sweet, and don't miss it.
Number 5 is to start paying off your loans. Get them gone. Yes, they are real money. I know that the reality of that is probably just sinking in if you just graduated. I will also encourage that if you do have a job straight out of college right after graduating, don't wait that 6-month period. Start chipping away at those loans, even though it may not be collecting interest right now, and you can wait. If you have the means to do this, you've got a job secured, start paying them down. You will not regret it. And of course, this begins by looking at our loans. This can be one of the biggest barriers to any kind of debt, is just, what do I actually owe? Chances are you never actually looked that closely at your financial aid package every semester that it was sent to you. So now take a look at it. Tally it up, see how much you owe, and determine the interest rates, the different types of loans, and then prioritize based on that. Certain loans might have a higher interest rate than others, so you want to tackle them first. And of course, consider paying extra amounts towards that principal to get those as you can, right? As you might have extra coming in as you've secured that job, get them gone as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And again, episode 138, a good one to queue up and listen to after this if you are going to tackle your student loans. The next one, and I don't know if I would put this one next, but it does fit well between the student loans and the last one, but it's work on your credit score. So again, you might remember from our credit score episode where we did get a 1-star review. It's good when we get a 1-star review.
Yeah, that means we're making people feel things.
Yes. You don't ever want to pay to increase your credit score. So this is typically not something I would work on until you are already comfortable with values-based spending and you know what you want to spend on and you're not as tempted by impulse spending and stuff. But it is a good idea to get a no annual fee credit card just so that you can start working on your credit history length. So at least start working on that, but leave it at home, maybe put one recurring thing on it all the time or keep it locked, but don't use it regularly. You don't want to be tempted to overspend and then you pay interest on a rolling balance. That's not what we want, especially when we're trying to pay off student loans potentially. So somebody thought we were saying that you should give out a loan or take a loan to build your credit score. And obviously we would never say that. But yeah, so you do want to work on your credit length, history length, but when you start making more money is kind of when you can start to consider your credit building. I think number 7 is much more important than number 6.
So number 7 is think about retirement. And I know this probably seems so out of place. Like, I just graduated college and now you're telling me to think about when I'm 65 or younger, depending on the financial choices you make. But the sooner, the better. The longer that you can be investing towards, saving towards, thinking about retirement, the better off you're going to be. And the sooner you could potentially retire. So, of course, this is not something you don't need to be investing for retirement if you don't even have a job yet. So, like, first things first, definitely, and tackle some of those low-hanging fruits. But this is certainly something you want to think about even as you're looking for a job of, do they have a 401k plan? Is that something you can take advantage of? What might you be able to do with the salary and income that you make off of a job? And have this be a part of those long-term goals that we talked about in number 1.
Mm-hmm. And you save so much money by starting investing early, when you start investing early. So say your goal is to save $1 million by 60. If you start at 20 versus 30, or start at 25 versus 35, the amount you have to save overall is tens of thousands of dollars less if you just start 10 years earlier. It's actually, I think in some cases, it's $100,000. Yeah, I did the math. It's $100,000 less. If you're maxing out a Roth IRA, and maybe you just start 10 years earlier, then you don't have to max out a Roth IRA and you actually save $100,000 and you still get to $1 million by 60. So in everything frugal that we talk about, we try to avoid making these $3 decisions. Like, how can I save $3 by not getting a coffee or get a rebate app that gets me, a gift card? We try to avoid decisions like that, and we focus on decisions like this, which if I just start $100 a month into my 401k or my Roth IRA and scale up, like, you can save tens of thousands of dollars on becoming a millionaire. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Or not just saving money for saving money's sake, but okay, don't get that coffee and then invest that money into retirement. Like, do something with it, not just, oh, good, I didn't get coffee today.
Yeah. So, you don't have to stress over making 20 money-saving decisions every week when you know that you're making the right financial decisions, like getting your 401k match and investing 15 to 20% of your income from a young age. Yeah, your income is lower, so that means 15 to 20% is less than what it will be later on. But starting early really does set you leaps and bounds ahead. Like, compound interest doubles your money. If you're looking at a 7% return, it doubles your money about every 10 years. So, like, if you start at 35 and plan to retire at 65, that's doubling your money every 3 years. What if you had an extra 10 years, you started at 25, that's an extra doubling right there.
Yeah.
And so that makes, potentially $500,000 of difference. So, these are all theoretical numbers and not based in actual data, but the theory is there. So that's why I'm passionate about getting started, even with a little bit, when you are young.
Perfect.
So our next one, if you have nothing else to say, Jill.
Nothing else.
Okay.
You did it, Jen. You did it hard.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
Hi, I'm Martine Hackett, and I'm hosting the second season of Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition, a production from Ruby Studio in partnership with Argenix, sharing real stories of MG, CIDP, and other autoimmune conditions. We hope to share inspiration and educate the larger community about these severe and often overlooked conditions.
I can't fix this, I can't cure this. And, I'll take my treatment day by day, but I want to try to be engaged, be involved, or be as helpful as I feel I can with the limitations I have of working full time to children. So I participate in market research to provide information to hopefully benefit others, because it's a small margin of people that have the myasthenia, but then to get pregnant, it's an even more narrow margin. And you can't ever have too much information as an epidemiologist.
Yeah, exactly, right? Listen to Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are going to transition to career tips because this one didn't have a lot of career tips for new grads, and that's super important. Whether you're young or maybe you went back to school to get a different degree, it's really important to kind of reset and get started on the right foot with your career, because there's absolutely still a gender wage gap aside from the enormous wealth gap. And so this is going to be something especially women want to pay a lot of attention to.
Yes. And it comes from Life Hack. They give 6 career tips. I think we're going to go through all of them.
Yeah, let's do it. So the first one is be strategic about your first job. So I liked this one. I felt like I was really strategic about my first job. I didn't have a lot of places to go in my career, though. Acupuncture does not offer a lot of room for growth, but I spent a few years studying not just acupuncture, but the type of acupuncture I wanted to do. And so I was really strategic when looking for first jobs because I wanted to get into a specific industry, which was community acupuncture. And so the article says, view your first job as a means to accomplishing a specific goal. And if you graduated with a general degree and aren't sure how it relates, no problem. Approach this first job through a self-exploratory lens to help you better understand your likes and dislikes. So if there's something that you want to specialize in, try to go to that. But also, there's no harm in doing something that's super general and has a lot of different options so you can figure out the ones that you like and don't like. So if you know what you like, good, go for it. And if not, use the first job to figure it out, not just to make money.
Yeah, I love that tip. Just thinking a bit more intentionally about what you set your hands to. I think as a new grad, it can be exciting, anytime you get a job offer, but definitely exploring options and making sure that, it is going to set you up in a nice place as a stepping stone. And even if not, know that you can move around. You can change jobs. You don't have to stay stuck in whatever that first one is. But if it can be strategic, all the better. The second tip on here is don't commit to more education before mapping out a career plan. Ooh, this is a really great tip.
Yeah.
I did not think about this one until it's I knew it in my head, but what excellent advice for new grads. I think a lot of times that is the thing that just happens next, particularly in certain types of fields. It's, well, are you going for your master's just immediately? A lot of people aren't entering into the workforce. They're just going for their master's next. And while I can't put a blanket statement over this, I do think that it can be very beneficial to get into the workforce first and identify likes, dislikes, the things that you gravitate towards before you commit to that next tier of education. Or at least know what you plan to do with it. And hopefully you've had some internships and hands-on experiences to validate that, yes, it is worth me just going straight away for more education. But in either situation, definitely think about those long-term goals. Where will this get me? What types of environments can this put me in? And is it moldable? Let's say you don't go straight into the workforce and you do go just like 6-8 years of college straight. Make sure that what you're aiming at definitely has some moldability to it, where if your likes and dislikes do change, you can find yourself in a variety of settings.
This, I feel like, is advice that should be given to new high school graduates.
Yeah.
Because so often it's just normalized to go straight from a bachelor's to a master's and then sometimes like a PhD or doctorate without spending any time in the workforce. And then these graduates with masters and doctorates get out into the workforce and then they find they don't actually like doing what they got their degree in, because it's different to be practicing versus interning.
Yes.
And there's so much more to do.
And they don't have the experience then.
Right.
Versus
and people
a lot
are
of these
looking to
people
you to be the expert, and you're just not yet. No matter how much schooling you have. Like, experience is what makes you an expert. And so I follow like a lot of like corporate people on TikTok, like that give like corporate advice. And one of them is a lawyer. I forget his name, but he's very dry-witted. And he hates being a lawyer. And he says most lawyers hate being a lawyer. And he's like, you only like it if you're pretentious. I can't say that is true. But yeah, like if you could just get out of your bachelor's and spend some time as like a paralegal or something in the law field before going to law school, like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars you could save if you don't like being a lawyer, if you don't like the culture. Yeah, there's just so much to be said about this.
Yeah, it can work for people. I'm not trying to say don't ever keep going forward.
Right.
Right. Everybody has to look at their own situation. But another thing I would add to this is sometimes we can do both. Different jobs might provide you even a stipend or pay for a decent percentage of you going back to school. So many master's programs are online and are geared towards the working professional. So you can earn your master's degree while you're also working. So there's a lot of different ways to explore that possibility. Ultimately, we're saying, think about it first and make sure that you've got a lot of options. And certainly if you can have somebody else foot the bill for that additional education, go for it.
Yes. And we are totally for master's degrees in higher education. We are
we both have it.
We both have masters. Yeah, we are both for it. But we also both made sure like our masters were truly in things that we wanted to use. So, yes. Okay. Number 3 is to seek out experts to guide your career journey, not mom and dad. I like this one a lot. But sometimes I think we may not trust or fully respect the advice of older people because they may seem out of touch with what younger generations are going through. And to some extent, some people are, but they still offer a lot of wisdom. So it's kind of like that 80-20 rule. Like 20, you're going to get so much value out of the 20% and may, leave the other 80%. But you got to go looking for it. You got to listen, or you'll never get that really valuable 20%.
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough for seeking out professionals in the career that you are in or want to be in and ask for advice, guidance, support. I think professional mentorship is a really great thing to have, especially as you're starting out in your career. So definitely seek that out. Or if you've already identified somebody that you think could be really helpful, see if they're willing to chat occasionally.
Yeah, always look for a mentor.
Number 4 on here is an interesting one. I bought in more as I kept reading. It says, rely on science rather than intuition. And I was intrigued. What they're talking about is career assessments. Now, some of this seems to be speaking to hopefully what you've done, some of the back end work prior to graduating with a degree in a certain area. Like, hopefully you already have in mind the direction you want to be heading, but let's just say you're not, or this could be an additional help. These different types of career assessments, they recommend one called TTI Success Insights. Really, there's a lot out there. Some of them are quite similar to personality assessments, but they can be quite effective in giving us information, more insight on ourselves of what are the type of environments that we work best in? What's our leadership style? What's the type of leadership style we work best under? What do I want to be considering as I enter into a certain type of environment or role? So that can be helpful in even narrowing down if you are looking for a job or looking at different types of roles, which one you might be most qualified for or might fit best with your personal makeup and personhood. So an interesting tip, particularly if you're looking for a job and maybe you're not quite certain the type of specific field you want to be in or the type of environment, this can help to bring some focus and clarity to that.
It can also be a great thing to put on your resume.
Yeah.
So another one that I like is Clifton Strengths, which used to be Strengths Finder. And HR people will love it if you take your Strength Finder and you put out your 5. I don't remember what my strengths were, but that was something we did at the last job I worked at. And it can be really great to know those things and put them on your resume. And you can say, these are my greatest strengths, and these are how I can apply them to your role.
Yeah. A lot of jobs will even pay for you to get it done in the interview process.
Oh, yeah. Mine paid for it after I'd already been hired. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. And they were so accurate. So I can see how they would say rely on science rather than intuition, because it was, behavioral science. So number 5 is think specialty. So the more you can acquire in-demand skills, the more marketable you become. And so like our number 1 is to think strategically about your first job, or at least, current job, next job, whatever, and get a feel for what you want to specialize in. And then once you do, go specialize in it. But let me tell you this, just because you want to specialize in it now, and maybe you become an expert and you specialize in it, you have the prerogative to change your mind at any time. And you can choose to specialize in something else at any time down the road. You are not married to your specialty. So definitely take time to figure out what you want to specialize in so that you don't waste time, but know that you have every right to throw them a plot twist.
Oh, yes. I love that. There's so much freedom, and that can bring so much permission to us to know I don't have to stay here forever. I don't have to be stuck. Mm-hmm. So number 6 on, especially if we make wise financial decisions from the onset, then there's even more freedom. So that's my little plug. Number 6 on here is consider high in-demand occupations. You can certainly Google them. You can go on Indeed and look at what are people primarily hiring for. Again, this is a little bit more so one that might be helpful as you're determining a career path. But even once you have your degree, I like how number 6 encourages us to look at the pliability of our degrees, that just because I have a degree in, I don't know, education doesn't necessarily mean I have to go be a teacher of this grade level. There are a lot of skill sets that come along with really any degree that we may have obtained that we could translate into various environments if we can get creative and if we can also have a good understanding of our own skill sets. So if you are having difficulty finding a job in maybe the specific niche that you were hoping for, consider what else is out there and how your degree, skill set, education, background, experiences have maybe helped prepare you for something even a little bit different.
Absolutely. You know what we can prepare for that's different?
The Bill of the Week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
Hi, ladies. I just wanted to share with you my bill of the week is all of my bills. All of my debt is gone, $34,233.05 in 12 months. My husband and I worked so hard for the whole year of 2020, and everything is finally gone. We are a family of 6, 4 boys and my husband and I, and we were able to pay that all off on one income. Thanks, guys.
Wow, Kelly, that is awesome. $34,000. Man.
I mean, she knew it down to the penny.
She knew it down to the penny, yeah.
Which, when you're going that hard at paying down debt, you know it to every last cent. But what an amazing accomplishment and a huge feat for 2020. The silver lining.
Yes.
Well done.
All right, here's our next one.
Hey there, I just wanted to tell you that I've been listening to your podcast for the last 6 months or so, and I just paid off my private university loan, and I am so excited, and I appreciate everything, and anybody can do it, even in a pandemic.
Another one!
Oh, how perfect. We don't listen to these bills before playing them, but I love that we ended up with 2 debt payoffs on our college grad episode. There you go. There's some encouragement for you. Well done. I feel the freedom alongside you.
Oh man, this is what happens when you stop just living for today and just start making the wise decisions that allows you to think for the future, but also still enjoy today. Like when you start making those bigger decisions. And so we are so proud of you ladies, and we want to hear your debt payoff bills too. So if you want to submit yours, please visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill and leave us a bill, and we will play it and celebrate with you.
Hi, I'm Martine Hackett, and I'm hosting the second season of Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition, a production from Ruby Studio in partnership with argenx. Sharing real stories of MG, CIDP, and other autoimmune conditions, we hope to share inspiration and educate the larger community about these severe and often overlooked conditions.
I can't fix this, I can't cure this. And, I'll take my treatment day by day, but I want to try to be engaged, be involved, or be as helpful as I feel I can with the limitations I have of working full time to children. So I participate in market research to provide information to hopefully benefit others, because it's a small margin of people that have the myasthenia, but then to get pregnant, it's an even more narrow margin. And you can't ever have too much information as an epidemiologist.
Yeah, exactly, right? Listen to Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way. We hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota has them, with more on the way. But we also know a BEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of cost, range, or concern about finding a charging station when your battery gets low. You start freaking out. Plus, the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero, Toyota's vision for a carbon-neutral future in vehicles and in manufacturing plants, too. In the years ahead, the materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids. That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you, a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or a battery EV. So shop, learn more, and get details at toyota.com/beyondzero. Toyota, let's go places.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
So today, let's talk about either biggest mistake and or thing you're proud you did as a new grad. And we're not saying regrets, no regrets here, because any mistake is just an opportunity for learning.
Beautiful, Jen. I feel like I have both for you. I have a bit of a mistake. I have a bit of a non-mistake. What is that? What's the opposite of a mistake? Success? I don't know if I'd go that far. Okay.
Neutral action.
So my thing that I'm proud I did as a new grad was looking at my debt right away. And this was before I got not deep into finance. I'm still not deep into finances, but it's before I knew about the Frugal Friends podcast. It's before I knew your sweet face. I've never liked debt. So I think that that's just like embedded into me. And so upon graduation, I think I knew, okay, I'm not accruing any more debt. This is where it stops. And now we swing the pendulum the other way. So even looking at how much do I owe, I started making a cross off, color in some sort of sheet, how to get rid of this thing as fast as possible. The thing that and I don't even know if I'd go so far as to say a mistake, but looking back, I think I wish that I did have a bit more permission inside myself. It's like you say, Jen, I am glad for my experiences, and there's an aspect where I don't know how much those experiences have actually helped mold, shape, all of that. But straight out of college, getting my bachelor's degree, I worked at the place that I interned at while I was in my senior year. So I was just thrilled that they offered me a job. I was so exhausted by that point that I liked that I didn't have to put in effort towards looking for a different job. There's parts of me that wished that I had. I'm not saying that I regret it entirely, but I think looking back, I didn't feel the permission to look around, shop around, or really the confidence to know that I do have something to bring to the table. Yes, I didn't have the same level of experience that I do now, but I think I stayed in that job far too long, making far too little, working far too hard. It was intense. I kind of do wish I had gotten out sooner. But again, my goodness, did I gain some incredible skill set. So I think out of that, just advice that I would pull from that is to know your value. Again, you do have to get some experience. Like you can't step out of college and anticipate you're going to be making well into the six figures. Of course, it depends on what you're doing. But as a social worker, no, I could not anticipate that. But just feeling the permission. I wish I would have felt the permission sooner. It really burnt me out.
Yeah, that's a big problem with anybody in industries of like more philanthropic industries.
And I think young people too, I think we don't have as much of a handle on boundaries, what is and isn't okay. And we might just have such tenacity, and companies and organizations will eat that up. Like, yes, we have a tenacious young person, but they can chew you up and spit you out too. So I think just having a better pulse on that burnout and not doing as much. 60 hours a week for $26,000 was a little too much.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got out of there and you're making well above that now.
Yes, me too. What about you?
For me, I'm glad that I moved back to St. Pete after I graduated. That's not something I wanted to do, but obviously it's how I met Travis and super happy here. I'm glad I got a weekend job. That was less out of money and more out of wanting to work in foster care to experience that in order to one day become a foster parent. So I did it for that, but I'm glad I got it because it helped with money. I had my first job out of college. I got an extra job in St. Pete. And I had this boss that really gave me an opportunity. I failed one of my licensing exams and I had to wait 6 weeks, and she had already hired me. So I was doing desk work for her and stuff, and she really took a chance on me. She really supported me, but she couldn't pay me. And so I worked for a few months almost a year, I guess, after she hired me. I was with her for almost a year, and it was almost 6 months after I got my license. And I asked for a raise because I was doing good work and I was being paid a lot more at the other acupuncture job that I had just one shift a week. And she couldn't give me more money. And so I had this internal dilemma, and I had this other opportunity where they're like, we'll give you more. But I felt like I was abandoning her and kind of spitting in her face for taking that time with me. And so I ultimately left because I couldn't get more from her. I really gotten so much in that 9-10 months, but what I needed next was actually money, to be paid more than $10 an hour with a master's degree. And so that I'm proud of taking the courage and being committed to myself first before an employer, because I really did enjoy her. She was so great. We'd become good friends, but ultimately, she was my livelihood, and I wanted a boss that could pay me, not somebody I could go have a beer with after work. So that's kind of probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Yes. Again, it's that permission piece to know you don't have to stay somewhere, and you can be shopping around. And
yeah.
And like you said, you don't owe her your livelihood. Mm-hmm. You can send a nice thank you for being a stepping stone along the way. And it sounds like you did put in your time. You worked for free for a time while she took a chance on you. But yeah, you don't owe her anything beyond that.
Yeah. And I feel like a mistake. I think, so yeah, it is a mistake. I've was very much trapped in a scarcity mindset, and still I'm very candid about that being something I still struggle with. I think it's a common struggle in the frugal world. I really was tied to this buying everything as cheap as possible, but still not paying off my student loans because those looked too hard. So that was maybe the biggest mistake that I made, is not having the faith in myself to make the big decisions, and only having enough faith in myself to make really small decisions.
Yep. Some of that comes in time. And I think some of this, we couldn't have skipped ahead to what we know now, and the permission that we found and the greater confidence. I mean, some of that happens because we're acutely aware that we're new, we're green behind the ears. But there are some pieces where, I think it can happen quicker than it did for some of us. So
absolutely.
Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. We hope that this has been an encouragement to you. Please do hang out with us in our Frugal Friends community group on Facebook. Give us more of your tips for new grads, or if you are a new grad, what it is that you're doing or what you might want support from the community on. We're here for all that. And also, thank you so much for leaving your kind reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, like this one. Some people leave rude ones, but I take it they're not listening right now. Thanks for your kind ones, like this one that comes from PJ Allen 69, titled Relatable Financial Experts That Treat Everyone Like Adults. It is 5 stars. Thank you, PJ. I love this podcast. Frugal friends Jen and Jill are very relatable financial experts that treat everyone like adults, peers, equals to improve our relationship with money. They articulate extremely well, delve into thought processes and questions that may be bouncing around your head, and engage in an empowering, open-ended, conversational approach that presents options that might work for you. They treat all questions with grace, respect, and a sincere response. There are no stupid questions or stupid people on this show. How refreshing. Frugal Friends is the complete opposite of many other financial shows where the hosts seem like preachy gods touting their one-size-fits-all financial roadmap while making their audience feel like idiots. Jen and Jill always make you feel like a valued frugal friend and truly want everyone to do the best they are able to do with their money. This is why I find their podcast hopeful and encouraging for everyone and highly recommend it. Whoa, PJ Allen 69, I am incredibly humbled by the words that you chose. I mean, such a thorough review. Not all reviews have to be so thorough, but you really took a lot of time with this, and we so appreciate it. I'm very, very glad to hear that you feel valued and a part of this community. Goodness, is that the aim? Just creating a no judgment area where people can experience support and encouragement. So, what an amazing thing to read. Thank you.
Yeah, we can say all day what we want people to get out of the show, but to read it like back at us from our listeners' point of view is a feeling. It gives me feels that they're very rare. So thank you. They're very cherished. So we also want to thank our friends who share these episodes on social media. So when you share the latest episode and tag us on Facebook or Instagram, we're adding you to our monthly drawing. So for every 5 tags and reviews we get each month, we're giving away a copy of the Frugal Friends workbook.
So keep leaving us reviews on iTunes or Stitcher. Send us the screenshot of that review to frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And also keep tagging us on social. We see it.
And we thank you for it. And we'll be in your ears next week.
See ya.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Siriani.
So Jill, what were you going to tell me?
Oh my goodness.
Started?
Yes. I have been cracking up all day long. So it's been a while since I've been on Facebook Marketplace. I just haven't had much that I need to buy, and I haven't had much that I need to sell. Yeah. So I've just not been on it. Well, we are in the midst of renovations and kind of through that process, taking some things out of our home, like ceiling fans and doors and stuff like that. And rather than just like junk it, I'm like, well, some of this stuff I could get a little bit of money for, and a little bit adds up. So anyhow, you can find me back on Facebook Marketplace right now. And I am realizing some of the reason that it's not always my favorite space to be. Eric said it this way. He's like, you think you understand and know humanity or have a good, decent grasp on humanity, and then you interact with people on Facebook Marketplace and it just throws it all out the window. Although there is a part of me that does really enjoy it. I think I'm just kind of having fun at this point. The amount of, I don't know, just ridiculousness that's happening. So here's what happened today. Okay.
Tell me.
This is probably my fault. I should have just put this up for free on the Buy Nothing group, but I got a filing cabinet from a yard sale. I've been looking for a filing cabinet. I've got enough. I keep client files. But I was able to now I'm able to get rid of like an old plastic. It's just a small square plastic filing bin, okay? Like it has a lid on it. You can put drop files in it. I'm just trying to sell it for $5 porch pickup. Probably should have just put it up for free, but I'm just listing a ton of stuff. So I'm like, here we go. I'll list this. It's amazing. I have had like 20 people reach out about this thing. No one has actually come and gotten it yet, but the questions. So I have had someone ask me, is it fireproof? No, it's plastic. It's also only $5. I've had someone ask me, does it work? Well, it's a plastic filing bin. Yeah, it works, but it's just a plastic bin. And then my favorite, actually, it was the same person who asked me, does it work? And I almost didn't respond because I'm like, I know you. I see you, and I don't think so. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'll play because I'm just sitting at home in between phone calls. I'll play. Yes, it works, but it's just plastic. Okay? $5 porch pickup. I have it listed that way. This person literally has the audacity to then say, would you take $4? And I'm coming from 30 minutes away. Can you meet me halfway? Jen, I have been dying of laughter all day long just thinking about this person and their questions. I know we just read a review where it's like, there's no stupid questions. And that's not stupid. It's just laughable. I have been laughing. I have literally been laughing out loud. Like, $4. Like just negotiating for the sake of negotiating. And then trying to get like, not only are you going to talk me down, you're going to ask me to get in my car to deliver a $4 plastic bin to you because you're 30 minutes away. Meanwhile, I have my zip code listed. Why are you looking that far outside of your radius if you're not willing to drive there? For a $5 plastic. Does it work? Will you take $4? Can you meet me halfway? Just like, what is the world? What is St. Petersburg, Florida? This is all over, though. I can't just blame it on Florida.
Yeah, I mean, the lesson here would be you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And she doesn't know that you're the type of person with boundaries. So keep taking the shots and hoping the other person doesn't have a podcast.
Done.
Bring home Napoleon.
Destiny has brought me here.
The action epic from acclaimed director Ridley Scott.
What is your name?
Napoleon. You are the greatest leader in the history of the world.
Witness the rise.
You are nothing without me.
Of the legend. Starring Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby.
I'm the first to admit when I make a mistake. I simply never do.
Napoleon. Buy or rent on digital now. Rated R.
Land.com can help you find that little patch of ground to call your own and do all the hunting, fishing, and hanging out with the family you want. Just know that getting your own piece of land is something that can generate memories for generations, but also has the ability to generate income in both the near and long term. Like if you just want to start a rental business / family compound. Go to Land.com and check out the hundreds of thousands of rural listings from all across America. Enough dreaming about it. Land.com is a place to find and invest in your open space.